What's up YouTube, it's your boy Nash here, welcome back to the channel, and for today's episode of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue, we are going to talk about the history of the Flamvell archetype. Now, there really isn't a background story as to, what the Flamvells were based off of, but there kind of is, but there really isn't much to talk about involving this archetype, but it is going to be a very interesting archetype to talk about. So let's get straight into it. So the Flamvell archetype is a archetype of fire monsters whose effects include burning your opponent's life points and increasing each of your monsters' own attack power as well. Many of their effects have tend to be triggered when they inflict battle damage or when they destroy one of your opponent's monsters as a result of battle. And a lot of the monsters intend to have at least 200 defense or effects supporting monsters with that much power, with that much defense power. They were introduced to us in Dual Terminal Synchro Awakening, which was a really interesting set. Given the fact that the cards in there, given the fact that I believe this was the first one, was this the first one, DT1, if I remember correctly? I don't know, but this ad needs to get out of the way. So the cards that were in the set, you have Blue Eyes, Dark Magician, Red Eyes, Ojama Yellow, you had Elemental Hero Neos, you had Buster Blair, Karibo, Wing Karibo, Cyber Dragon, Blizz, Defender of the Ice Barrier, Blizzard Warrior, Chiromancer of the Ice Barrier, Mist Valley Thunderbird, Mist Valley Shaman, Mist Valley Soldier, Flamvell Dragonoff, Flamvell Magician, Flamvell Guard, X-Saber Axel, Air Bellum, X-Saber Uruz, Commander Gotham's Swordmaster, Allied Justice Colossalus, Allied Justice Garadalog, Warm Apocalypse, just so many different cards. Brionic, Dragon the Ice Barrier, Flamvell, Uruquizas, Wrath of Neos, Reinforcements, and of course Negate Attack, Berserker Crush, and Mask of Weakness. So there were a few cards in that dual terminal set. Pretty cool set. I think it's actually a OCG set actually. As far as like when they were released in TCG sets, they were also released in Dual Terminal Invasion of Worms, and through the TCG sets they were released in sets like Ancient Prophecy with cards like Flamvell Commando as a TCG exclusive, with additional cards coming in from Hidden Arsenal, and even also most recently Dark Neostorm, which was released just a couple of years ago. Wow, that's pretty old. There was also a sub archetype involving this called Neo Flamvell, which was released in Dual Terminal Pulse of the Trishula, which had monsters that were more so focused on cards in the graveyard, more so on graveyard control. Especially by banishing your opponent's cards, which is really cool. Potentially, it could have been used by Bob from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, where he had Flamvell Guard. And if you don't remember Bob, he was the guy that he was one of Leo and Luna's friends, who we saw in episode 67 of the 5Ds anime. So I think it was from season 2. and he had his mind like completely like ruined. Excuse me, by Lester, who tried to unleash the power of the Crimson Dragon, if you will, and and that was pretty bad, bad choice, poor choices, poor choice making, if you will, by Lester. The Japanese name of this archetype could have derived from Flamberg, which is interpreted as fire bell in French. In Chinese, it's flame prison, or perhaps nobody knows, not even I do. Flame hell would be another one. Which obviously we know what hell literally means. It means hell, earthly prison, basically. So the play style of this archetype is that a deck that uses the Flamvell archetype will try to overpower your opponent with monsters and supporting the strategy, increasing attack point values and inflicting burn damage. Neo Flamvell stay true to this overall idea, including while adding graveyard banishing effects to the deck itself. Essentially using just a bunch of fire monsters. Most of the fire monsters have at least 200 or less defense, and the archetype has certain effects that work with that small amount of defense. And up until now, fire monsters from completely unrelated archetypes do have exactly 200 defense. Like I know that volcanics have, are the same way. Again, Flamvell, Neo Flamvell. There's a few. There's a few. Excuse me. That are completely unrelated to this archetype. They have exactly 200 defense, and they work so well with the Flamvells when they came out initially. One of the Flamvell's main trump cards is Rekindling, which can get you 5 monsters at once, up to 5 monsters in one turn, which kind of works similarly to Soul Charge, but the only difference is that with Rekindling there are no drawbacks, and Rekindling you're basically just summoning a bunch of fire monsters, basically. Excuse me. Rekindling can actually lead to various synchro and link summons, or it can allow you to run over your opponent with those monsters summoned by Rekindling, and if the second option is desired, Flamvell Archer can further increase the damage with its own effect, which is pretty cool. In fact, Flamvell Archer, if I remember correctly, let's see what you do. Excuse me. Once per turn, you contribute 1 face-up pyro monster you control to have all Flamvell monsters in the field gain 800 attack until the end phase. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. That's all it does, which is insane. And it's a 3-star pyro tuner, mind you. However, with time, over time, and with Master Rule 4 that came out not too long ago. Excuse me. They weren't nice to the Flamvell archetype. because of the fact that you had to, because of the fact that if you were to synchro summon during Master Rule 4, you have to summon it from, to the extra monster zone, or to a zone that a Link monster would point to, which completely ruined the entire Flamvell strategy. So making a Flamvell deck was pretty limited, but now with Master Rule Revision, it's not as bad. However, with Rekindling, if you're unable to use Rekindling, Soul Charge can be used as an alternate, but the only downside is that you're paying 1,000. You're paying practically up to 5,000 life points, and you won't be able to attack with those monsters in the same turn at all, which completely hurts the tempo and the overall strategy of the deck. Some power creep cards that can be used. Flamvell Magician would be one, which was actually one of the first level 4 tuners of the Flamvell archetype. But it basically had little to nothing to offer in today's meta. The Flamvell player would still be forced to play him if he wanted to have a searchable searchable 4-star fire tuner, due to the lack of other options. Flamvell Poon might have a big search pool. However, you would need to have it be destroyed by battle in order to trigger its searching effect. Cards like Flamvell Canoga, Flamvell Fiend, or even Flamvell Commando, which those are just not impactful enough to make writing them worthwhile. Their boss monsters, Uruquizas, an ancient Flamvell deity, got victim to power creep and probably have to make way for other monsters in the Flamvell extra deck. So it could be pretty much anything, Crystal Wing, obviously Formula Synchron, Halka Vibrax, are just some of the big ones that they can use instead of them. But those are more so of more of a last resort if you're unable to incorporate those cards into the extra deck. However, as far as Master Rule 4 goes, Flamvell was a useful archetype for synchro summoning back around 2010, 2011, but with the addition of Link monsters, it made the deck much harder to play. Aside from Rekindling, Flamvells really are not the best swarming. It isn't the best archetype for swarming for swarming the board and whatnot, and it has a lack of options to place multiple monsters on the board without outside support. But as I mentioned before, they did get support in Dark Neostorm in the form of Neo Flamvell Lady, which was a nice option for both graveyard banishing and even also graveyard setup as well, to go into your play to go into your synchro plays. Some of the cards that you can use to with this deck are cards like Red Resonator, which is an excellent card. Not so when you normal summon this card, you're able to special summon any other level 4 or lower monster from your hand, which will allow you to go into Link monsters like Dual Little Chimera and Crystron Halka Fibrize. And because that is a tuner monster, you can even also use it to synchro summon for pretty much anything that for pretty much any synchro that you have in your extra deck, provide that you met the synchro summon requirements, basically. And funny enough, rekindling is funny enough, because that red resonator is a fire attribute, rekindling can bring it back easily. Resonator Call is another great way to access red resonator as well, especially if you're running 3 copies of it. Insane, absolutely insane. Any other Link monster can help the deck get field presence. Dual Little Chimera is pretty helpful because of its effects. Being able to link basically any Link 2 monster would help Flamvells get further the plays. If especially going to cards like Formula Synchron is really insane. 1-for-1 would be another good one, because you can go into Flamvell Baby, Flamvell Poo, Flamvell Guard, and several other 1-star Flamvells, which is really cool. Reasoning is another good one, but Reasoning can also backfire, because because you could potentially deck out with this card. So this one, not so sure if you want to use it. Cataclysmic Scorching Sunburner is a card that can be used with relative success in a Flamvell deck, and when it's summoned, it helps the aggro strategy by being a huge beater on board, and it also has the potential to deal burn damage if it can at all be summoned in the battle phase via Flamvell Fire Dog, since it's a 200 defense fire monster. With enough pyro monsters, Royal Firestorm Guards can be a helpful draw card. Excellent draw engine. Being able to just draw out your rekindling, your reasoning. That card could really help out. Brionic is another really good one that you can use, because it helps clear the board for of potential threats that your opponent may have on their side, while setting up your own graveyard for rekindling, and even also Firestorm Guards as well. Some of the different there are two different style of decks that were useful back in the day, that were really good back in the day. One of them was Volcanic Flamvell, which consisted of the cards consisted of cards like Flamvell Magician, Fire Dog, Poon, Baby, Neo Flamvell Origin, Neo Flamvell Lady, Scorching Sunburner, Volcanic Rocket, Scattershot, Volcanic Shell, Volcanic Counter, Firestorm Guards, and even also Red Resonator, which I know that I've seen some decks run 3 of Red Resonator, but I've even also seen decks run only 1, because they don't really want to go into their synchro plays. They're either going to their link plays. The extra deck consists of cards like Brionic, Black Rose, Clearwing Synchro, Crimson Blader, Stardust Dragon, Vermilion Dragon Mech, Trishula. For the Xyz monsters, you could use Tornado Dragon to wipe your opponent's back row. Castell, which is a pretty decent disruption. Link Karibo, Summon Sork, and even also Doolittle will be some of the more better links that you could use if Summon Sork was still legal. For the spells, Blaze Accelerator, Try Blaze Accelerator, Wildfire, Pot of Dichotomy, because Flamvells, they have a lot of different types. Spellcaster, Pyro, yeah. Rekindling 1-for-1, Resonator Call, Fool's Burial, and then the Traps, Reckless Greed, Blazing Mirror Force would probably be some of the better cards that they could use in a in a Flamvell Volcanic deck. Another deck that was also pretty interesting was Zombie Vel, which would use cards like Necroworld Banshee, Mizuki, Unizombie, Plague Spreader, Zombie Master, Glow Up Boom, Doom King Baldarok, Shiranui Solitaire, Pain Painter, Goblin Zombie, Archfiend Zombie Skull, Ally of Justice Catastor, Dark End Dragon, Doom Kaiser Dragon, Revive King Hadez, Ancient Pixie Dragon, Red Eye Zombie, Necro, Trishula, Vampire Sucker, just to name a few cards. So these were pretty cool decks. As far as like the weakness of the deck goes, because that Rekindling and Flamvell Firedog would play an intricate part of the deck of different Flamvell decks. Vanity's Ruler, Vanity's Emptiness, Arclord Christia, Fossil Dyna would destroy the deck entirely. In addition to cards that would basically focus on more so not having cards being banished and not being sent to the grave. Macrocosmos, Banisher of the Light, Master of Darklaw, which is a really broken card, Dimensional Fissure, and even also Prohibition as well, which is one of the oldest cards in the meta, because Prohibition allows you to, because if you're going up against a deck that can use Prohibition, your opponent would play Prohibition, they would call Rekindling, you can't use it. You cannot use it as long as Prohibition is on the field. Armageddon Designator is another really good one, which is more so used in mirror matches, if you will, but it can also prevent the use of Rekindling, which would make it much harder which would make it much harder to win your matches. Necro Valley and the End of Anubis, Silent Graveyard are all cards that can also stop Rekindling as well. And even also Blackwing Jin, the Rain Shadow, can destroy almost every Flamvell monster, because of the fact that the majority of the monsters have at least 200 defense compared to Jin's 600 attack. And many of the key Flamvells, like Fire Dog and Magician are also level 4, making them prey for cards like 4-star Ladybug of Doom, which can destroy all 4-star monsters on the field, and also cards like Water Dragon, Starboy, and possibly Umi can also severely handicap the offenses of Flamvells. And even also, because that this deck, because that the Flamvell decks would focus on synchro summoning, Discord is a card that can stop them from making a board. Can stop you from making a board with pretty much with a bunch of synchros and whatnot. And Discord is actually kind of a funny one, because it looks like, because if you look at the artwork, or if you guys do have the card, if you look at its artwork, it looks like something out of an opera or something like that. But it says neither player can synchro summon. Send this card to the grave during your third end phase after activation. So you would need to have at least 3 copies of Discord you would need to have at least 3 copies of Discord and 3 copies of Jar of Avarice, so you can recycle Discord over and over again and just keep using it. You can even also implement Mask of Darkness to bring back bring back your Discord, and then just set it next round. So obviously with decks like Zombieville and Flamvell, they have competed in YCSs, maybe a couple of regionals here and there, but I don't think that the decks have won YCSs. I know that they've topped they got top 64, top 32, but anything higher than that is impossible because of the fact that there are players who would use cards like Prohibition and Armageddon Designator and Necro Valley and whatnot. So guys, that is going to do it for this episode of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue. Question of the day. How can I put this? Oh, you know what? How about this? Should Flamvells get more support? If so, what kind of support? Support for the main deck or the extra deck? Let me know in the comments below. And that is going to do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue, which gets posted every Friday, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any new content that comes your way. And be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All the links will be down in the description below. And if you guys have fan mail that you want to send me and want me to open up on the channel, my address will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.